Namo Mirabutsu. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, whenever you are, in whichever realms of existence you are, whatever mind states you're in, whatever conditions you're in. As always, you're welcome to my channel. Here, unboxing day, having a little day out at one of the seaside towns in Devon, and I have a little bit of a stroll to myself to head back to the car and pick up some things and then rejoin my family. But so I thought I'd make a quick video, probably in pieces as we go here, of a trio basically of very Mappo or tail end of the descending Kalpa type of dreams, and actually I'm almost in the car. Yeah, so trio of Mappo dreams, as it were. So the first was a kind of sort of festival kind of gathering of some description, but it was must have been sometime in the either nearish to later in the 21st century kind of range, it seemed like. And the reason I say that was because it seemed like it was a gathering of people who were quite sort of transient, kind of almost refugee type of people from all walks of life and all types of humans, let's just say, and they were it wasn't immediately apparent in the dream. It was because it was just kind of normal, this kind of refugee life was in the dream. It struck me as just kind of a normal thing to be happening, and people gathering together like this. It was just kind of normal. It wasn't like it wasn't anything out of the ordinary for whatever was happening, in the world that was causing people to live this way, whether wars or for these migrations of people from, like I said, all nations all over the place. This wasn't just particular parts of the world. This was, let's just say, places of the world. Put it this way: places in the world where it normally hasn't been happening, say in the 20th or 21st century so far, but definitely in this dream was happening, in this kind of maybe say maybe mid to later 21st century, I'm guessing. Maybe it was from, or maybe in the nearest future, who knows. But anyway, so yeah, it was in places where, there's a lot of places where that's been happening for decades, I mean, it's in one way or another, it's been happening for hundreds of years, millennia. People have been displaced and migrating for various reasons, various conditions, various causes and conditions over the years. But these were, so basically this was among, I'd say Western, this was like a Western nation, we'll say, where this was happening. in the future sometime, where people were, because of the causes and conditions of whatever was happening in the world. You can put that together yourself probably with what's, extrapolate what's happening now in the world and just, extrapolate that forward. And you can see that in, Western nations, it's going to be the same as the rest of the world, basically, as it will become just one big ghetto, man. A giant ghetto in outer space, as to paraphrase Rust Cole from True Detective, who I often like to quote or refer to. But anyway, so this is happening, and it was just like this kind of gathering, but it wasn't just, so people could eat food, and there was some kind of festival aspect to it. And and my character in this dream was encountering people from the past and the present in the dream, even though it was kind of seemed like it was set in the future, if you see what I mean. But anyway, so I'm sure there's something to all of that. But anyway, or it's just a dream weaving it together for me with what I know, as it were. But anyway, but present at this dream, present at this festival, was one of my former Buddhist teachers was there, organizing kind of the recreation, organizing the sort of games and recreation and things that were going to be kind of happening. So the happy stuff, the fun stuff, the happy, communal fun kind of stuff. So, and he was sort of dressed in kind of like everyone else, more or less. More or less, but he was known as, I was kind of aware that he was sort of a Buddhist teacher in this future dream, in this future, this dream set in the future of Mappo, as it were, in the nearish to, maybe several decades away kind of future, as it were, somewhere in that range, anywhere from the next decade to a few decades, maybe, whatever. Anyways, so that was the first of the dreams. And then another dream that I had was of a massive, we were at, it was on the grounds of a university, which that does seem to be a recurring dream theme for me, being on grounds of universities, in various configurations and times and places. But this one was in a quite, it was quite, again, in the future time. And it was the university, this particular university and its facilities were being used to house people. Basically, again, refugees. Again, another theme here going on. And this was a Western university. This is one of the Western nations somewhere. So it was on this sort of massive university campus where people were housed, people who were kind of refugees and whatnot were housed, and being evacuated, though. For some reason, the entire university of these people who were refugees and, and were encamped on the campus grounds had to be evacuated. So that's where that came into the dream. Was my dream character came into the dream in the midst of this evacuation. Alarms going off, people rushing places, other people trying to organize people's exits, and facilitate the whole thing. So some people were being calm, others were not, as you'd expect, in these kinds of situations. And then the third dream I had was involved a kind of cult gathering in the future. This is again in this future time set in Mappo, and again probably this time in a Western nation, probably in North America somewhere, because the cult leader of this place, I'm gonna have to continue this in a second, was dressed in a kind of garb that incorporated like his sacramental garb incorporated the American flag and the colors of the American flag, which was quite interesting. So I'll continue this in a bit. So yeah, he was wearing this kind of his sacramental garments, his religious garments or clerical garments. That's the word I'm looking for. Clerical garments were kind of like robes, or sort of partial robes, kind of, with like the American theme of like the American flag woven into it and the colors of the American flag, but not completely. It was completely red, white, and blue, but it wasn't just, the whole thing wasn't just the American flag. That was kind of woven into parts of it, kind of thing. He was kind of holding these services. It kind of had this compound, as you'd expect in this futuristic, collapsed, probably North America in the, like I say, maybe could be near future, could be mid 21st century, could be late 21st century, who knows, but collapsed North America. And I had this compound, and my dream character was there for some reason, not as a member, but just as someone who was surviving and wound up there for whatever reason in this story, this dream narrative. And I was quite aware that he was a cult leader, and that he was, a grifter, kind of, controlling, sort of, what most cult leaders are, either psychopathic or sociopathic, and with, that evil charisma, that evil Mappo, end of the descending Kalpa kind of charisma, narcissistic, control freak, basically. So that's my dream character in the dream was well aware of what he was, and wasn't, my dream character was actually trying to figure out what was going on with this guy, and what the situation was with these people that were his followers, but also at that time it was like a safe haven. So I was kind of going along to get along, as it were, pretending that I was part of whatever this was that I had stumbled into, kind of thing, in the dream, my dream character, that is. And yeah, he was kind of holding his services, kind of like, the vibe, I'll tell you, the vibe he had was kind of like a much more evil version of what, I can't remember his name, the Maga shaman, or the freedom shaman, whoever that guy was, that got arrested at a certain January 6th day that occurred. I think he was arrested as part of that. Anyway, so he kind of had that vibe about him, but it wasn't him. But it was a much more, like I said, a much more, that guy, the MAGA shaman or whatever he was. I don't think he was an evil person. I think he was just a kind of slightly vulnerable, gullible kind of person rather than, and I'm not saying anything about anyone's particular political stances here at all, either way with any of this. So just leave that aside if that's starting to if that kind of reaction is starting to rise up in you. I have no zero dog in the fight here with those political views. Zero dog in the fight, because they're both of the predominating left-right BS paradigms are both completely corrupt, no matter what country you're in or what version they are at present. So I have no bone to pick or dog in the fight on this. So just calm down on that one. Anyway, so any politics or social social views or ethical views are guided by the Buddha-Dharma, not by political ideologies. So anyway, so he was kind of like, but he kind of had that vibe, but an evil version of that guy, an evil version of the MAGA shaman or whatever the hell he was. I quite like that guy. I have to admit, I quite liked him. I was quite entertained by him. I have to admit to that one. So anyway, so if you're listening, I'm not casting any aspersions on you either, mate. You were quite a figure there for a bit during those. You offered some very welcomed comic relief, however unintentionally, during those years, a couple of years back. Anyway, so so it was kind of like him, only an evil version of him, but it didn't look like him at all. But that was kind of the vibe, and I would say, is a combination of that and this character that Chris Hemsworth, an evil hippie that Chris Hemsworth played in a kind of indie film I saw, I don't know, several years back, 5 years maybe, I don't know, it might have been more recent than that, but it was a newer film. It wasn't a very old film, and it was kind of Tarantino-esque. And Chris Hemsworth, and it was set in that era, set in the 60s, I believe, and it was very kind of Tarantino-esque kind of movie. And he played Chris Hemsworth played this kind of evil hippie in that, and that is kind of that kind of vibe, the way he was dancing, and in that film. So it was this kind of hippie cult leader, shaman, North American shaman cult leader guy in this compound with his followers. And like I said, my dream character ended up there. And always in these I do tend to be aware of myself as Buddhist, whatever the dream character I am in my dreams. I do tend to kind of have that awareness that I am a Buddhist in these dream characters. That the dream character that my mind has woven into the narrative of the dream is kind of Buddhist. But anyway, so so I'm on this compound and I'm trying to kind of work out what's going on, what the deal is with it all, kind of doing a little bit of information gathering, a little bit of surveillance kind of, and all the while, kind of remaining deep cover, pretending to be a follower. And I happen upon, this was probably the biggest Buddhist aspect of this dream. I happened upon, because I was trying to, and I was trying to find allies. I had a truck. I remember having this truck. It was like the classic North American, big truck for some reason. Kind of beat up, but with the roll bars and and the whole thing, not quite Mad Max looking, but kind of getting there, if you see what I mean. And I came upon this one place where, all right, I'm gonna have to continue this in a sec. Yeah, I'm back now. I'm back from the seaside now. And I'm just finishing a quick moment to finish up this video from the greenhouse, obviously. So I was talking about, so I was on this compound and kind of doing the whole surveillance thing, info gathering, trying to figure out what I was, what was going on here, how to survive while I am here, and how to get, when I did want to leave, how to make a discreet exit, and not be pursued by these people. Anyway, so and so I was. It seemed like I'd gathered some allies, had some people that were on my side or had similar objectives, as it were, in all of this, and I came upon this one building on it's kind of this intersection of kind of these dirt roads, kind of slightly up on a hill, and there was this kind of building there, and it seemed like it was kind of a training center of sorts, like almost martial arts kind of feel to it, and went in. We went in to check this out. Oh yeah, I was there with the truck. The big, very typical, proper, roll barred truck, pre Mad Max, not quite fully Mad Max kind of era, but you get the idea. And but proper big, beat up kind of truck, North American kind of truck. And anyway, so we get into this, come to this building. We're, looking inside, checking out what's going on. And it was night. I think it was nighttime, actually. So there wasn't supposed to be anything going on in this building, but there was. So we went in to check it out. And it turned out there was this Dakini, literally very much dressed like a Dakini woman, who was like a snake trainer, dancer, mesmerizer, and kind of doing her sort of martial arts / dancing routine, sort of practicing, and had this like, it was this is where it gets a bit over the top. She had this like a whip, like this, like a light whip, like some kind of energy whip kind of thing. And sometimes it looked like just a regular, kind of a cool looking whip with like an energy bit at the end. And sometimes it would turn all into like this energy kind of thing as she was doing her like martial arts kind of kata kind of routine. And there was a like massive cobra snake there as well. So very, and literally dressed like a Dakini, like South Asian, garb, Dakini, like you see in those paintings and those, the tanka and the whatever, where the Dakini are depicted. So it was quite a literal representation. She was, or it was a Dakini, because I'm going to be doing a video, and 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 I'm going to be doing a I've had several dreams related to Dakini, so I was going to combine that in one video. Maybe have a discussion with Kyokan or Johan about it at some point. And so we were just kind of spying at first, and then realized that this was an ally, potential ally. Somehow we just sensed she would be an ally, or someone that would be friendly to our cause, or and yeah, it turns out that she was going to be going after the cult leader. So there were a few scenes where we were in the assembly place, in the kind of temple or chapel or whatever it was, where and then but it turns out that there was going to be this this big confrontation. She was after this cult leader for some reason. She was going to take him, she was going to render him, take away his power, take away his influence, take away his, ability to continue harming people and controlling people in the way he was. And, so it's just somehow we kind of either glean this from her dance, or we just kind of intuited it, or it was transmitted telepathically in the dream. I'm not sure how that happened, but we knew that she was on our side. And then just after we kind of realized all that, there was this big a bunch of vehicles come screeching up, massive floodlights outside, going on the building. And the cult leader shows up, comes in, and there's this big confrontation with her and the cult leader. They, square off in this epic martial arts dance off and literally martial arts display in battle with each other. And obviously she's eventually is dominating the situation. He's using his robes, those robes I talked about, they were in the theme of the American flag. He was using those robes like in a classic martial arts style kind of, like epic martial arts movie style thing, where they'd unfurl and he'd come back, and he's trying to use them to ensnare her, and she was using her whip, her energy whip, and the snake was also, her out, they were doing this kind of just martial arts, dance, and the snake was also fighting the cult leader, and eventually he was defeated, and that was kind of the end of the dream. So it was pretty epic. It's a pretty epic ending, I'd have to say, but a very Mappo, futuristic Mappo vision of certainly a possible future in Mappo, in North American, and in North America, definitely, I'd say within the next, few to several decades. Things are going to probably look that way. But anyway, there you go. There's that was the big, epic martial arts end to this trio of dreams that were definitely all tied together. Kind of they were all set in the same kind of time period and world and place, more or less, in somewhere in North America. So I thought I'd share it, and I love the Dakini ending. I'm going to look that up, look up the snake Dakini, and just kind of see and probably incorporate a discussion of that in the Dakini video I'm going to do. But anyway, I just wanted to do this quick Mappo Boxing Day special for upload today. So, all right, take care. Namo Midabutsu, Namo Midabutsu, Namo Midabutsu, Namanda, Namanda, Namanda.